Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. This next question, I'd like for you to take it two directions. One is, since you were a high school coach, you have that experience of what made your program different, but then also with Radius Athletics and how you work with coaches in your mentor program. So if you will, just kind of take it both directions there.
So when I coached, I would say this is what some other coaches have. I coached on the girls' side, and I would say two things that made our program sort of different was, one, I would say the tempo in which we played was a little uncommon for the girls' side, with the emphasis on transition offense and sort of playing a 94-foot game whereupon we secure the ball back, whether that be we got scored on or gained a defensive rebound. The girls' game sort of tends to be a little more, there's some exceptions, a little more plugged into the coach, meaning team gets a rebound, she chins the ball, outlets to their point guard, the smoke clears, defense gets back, they walk up the floor and look at their coach, and he holds up a number or letter, calls out a state or something like that. Whereas we were a little different than that, in that we taught sort of like flow and go and things like that. Now, we weren't the only team doing that, but that's definitely a little bit more of an outlier. I'd say the second thing would be, I have a strength and conditioning kinesiology type background, and the amount of time we spent in the weight room and doing physical preparation versus our opponents might have been a little bit different, a little bit of an outlier. To get to the second part of your question about the Radius Athletics sort of business model, I'd say kind of what makes it different than sort of some other things you see out there is the personal interaction. I try to, it's more than just a paid blog that you join and get to read free articles and playbooks. I meet with coaches, I meet with coaching staffs, I interact with them in all day long in a group chat format. Zooms like you and I are on right now with coaches, where we can watch film of their team. That sort of like sets the ceiling of how many members I can acquire, because I can't be doing that all day, every day. So I can't get millions, but I can get deeper connections with the coaches that do work, I do work alongside. So I would say that sort of like personal interaction and access. And I would say the second thing that would make it different is a lot of my competitors in the basketball space like have a particular sort of offense and or defense that they're marketing to, and it's like, join this program to learn this particular offense or defense. And I don't have that. I work with coaches that run Princeton, that run motion, that run 5-out, 4-out, coaches that play man-to-man, coaches that play zone, coaches that, so it's not necessarily centered around a particular, like a Rick Torbert or something, like read and react. That's what you're joining to learn that particular. It's more about sort of like helping coaches find their thing, whatever that may be.
Yeah, it's not just what they do, but how they do what they do, that I would imagine you really come alongside and help them with.
Yeah, and I think about so many people. Like if you were to drive down the Dallas North Tollway or Highway 75 or somewhere, you see people commuting to work. Probably 9 out of 10 of those cars has someone driving it who's going to a job that they really don't love. right? Like they're doing it out of obligation to their family. They need income, they need benefits. But like 1 out of every 10 of those persons is like, oh man, it's Monday. Yes, I'm going to work. I love my job. But like,
Let's
that's
go.
not normal. Like,
Weekend's
that's not,
done, thankfully.
sadly,
Yeah.
that's not normal. Most
Yeah.
of people are working in a fashion they have to instead of they want to.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of coaches who are listening to this, who I've spoken with, who go coach a way that they feel like they have to instead of how they want to. And what I try to do is say, what do you want to do? Try to do this thought exercise when we're talking about basketball. Don't think of your 5 or 6 returning lettermen when we're having basketball conversations. Don't think of like the constraints on your program, or we don't really have tall guys in my school district, or we don't really have. Think about what kind of team do you like to watch on television? What if you could coach any way, any style, any way that you want, what would that look like? Write that down to me. Create a game model based on that. And now let's craft a plan to get you that.
That's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I got locked in. Love listening to you talk about it. And I could definitely see as a coach that I've always loved running and gunning, but really knowing early on, like how to execute it, how to sidestep some of the, because most high schools, and even though we're a private school, we don't recruit. And so most high schools can't do that or don't. And so who shows up in the fall, that's who we go with. But so you kind of help with that style. Is it style based or player based? I think you can help kind of bring those two together because so often coaches are, I found, are on either side of that. This is what we run, no matter who we have or what obstacles. And golly, it's just we're going to do it. Or we have no identity. We're going to change it up every single year based on. I think there is a way to bring those together, and you probably help with that a ton.
Yeah, and it's a spectrum. It's not either or. So we don't have to be system coach or fit our personnel coach. There's a spectrum there. It's not an either or. But I would say that like it's always based on my observations as a coach and as a sports fan, and like there's some of the best teams, programs at all levels, high school all the way up, sort of not only do the same teams win every year, right? Like we can kind of predict who's going to be your state champion or the conference you're in. Like you give me 5 tries, I'll probably get who it's going to be, right?
Right.
But like what I observed coaching, high school girls basketball is like in 2A, 3A, 4A, I'm, kind of going to be one of these 5 teams almost every year. That's one thing I observed. But the second thing I observed is not only is it going to be one of these 5 teams, is I could like leave the state for 10 years, come back, it would still be them. And not only that, I'm seeing they kind of play the same way. Instead of this girl's, it was her big sister in this corner playing guard. Now it's her little sister or her, so there's sort of like this uniformity to that. Someone has learned to systemize success. And there's a great front end cost to that. That's the part that keeps coaches more in that, we fit everything to do our personnel. They don't want to coach the way they want to coach because the front end cost of like moving to that just feels too steep.
That's a good point. Going back to the second thing you said about what made your high school program different was the amount of time that you spent like in the weight room. And I would imagine with injury prevention and things like that. So sometimes, you and I as coaches, we get the same amount of time with our players. And so we have to choose what we do with that time. And I would imagine there's a lot of coaches out there, like obviously they believe in the weight room, but how much it shows by how much time and how often they're really in there. What do you think is the benefit what was the benefit for you spending a little bit more time in there as opposed to doing shell for another 30 minutes a day?
Yeah, or more drills or whatever. Yeah. So that's a great question. It's not something that didn't wrestle with as a coach. Is I understand that by leaving the court and going to the weight room, we're sort of making a voluntary choice with our time that, you know, might, you know, you can make an argument that that could backfire. But I felt like the benefits were, one, I felt like because of the way we played, with playing aggressive man-to-man defense and a full court offense, we needed to transform physically to be able to do that. So like, I can't take my Toyota Camry that I bought at and put it on a NASCAR track without wheels shooting off and brakes burning. Those cars are specially equipped to handle that. So I've got to do that to my players. I can't just take you off the lot and put you into the race the way you are. Not this style of play.
Yeah.
So that was one justification for it. Is like, we have to change physically. And in order for it to get its full, optimal, maximal potential, we've got to be terrific athletes. And that means changing our way our bodies look, and adding strength and adding power and speed and all of that. Getting, again, nothing on life support. So if you're an athlete level 6, I'm trying to get you to level 7. If you're an athlete who's a level 9, I'm trying to get you to level 10. Like, nothing, we're not accepting your current abilities as your permanent abilities. So that's one reason. The second reason would be the injury prevention piece you mentioned. Sort of like, you know, if I'm well equipped for the rigors of the sport, I'm less likely to get injured. And I just didn't want to lose players to injury as frequently as my opponents did. I coached girls basketball and would often see opponents with 2 or 3 knee braces out there, the big ones. And just felt like that gave us an advantage to be fit, strong, fast, and healthy.
I think how we communicate the weight room to our players is really important, like the why behind we're in there. And I love the connection you made to them with, why do we need to be in here? It's because we need our bodies to look and play a certain way for the style of play that you guys, like, you connected the two. Because I think sometimes we why are we lifting today? Well, because it's good for you. Oh, all right. Like, that's just not good. It's not going to work against most, like, especially I do. One thing I do appreciate about today's players is they want to know why. They want to know why we're doing things. And I think the reason is the phone. Like, anytime they need to know why, they can just, in 10 seconds, they can get the answer. So as coaches, just to do as I say, I don't know.
Now you're not the information gatekeeper anymore as the expert. Information is readily available. So players, parents, all the above can kind of, they have access to information. So that you can't just be the autocrat, right?
Yep. That's a good point. And I think a challenge for me going forward is we may be blessed with just players that are naturally yes or no, sir, I'll do whatever you tell me to. Like, maybe that's the culture that is in your city, is in your school, you know, the parents, that whatever. But I think I can help them even have more buy-in in that, because I know how important it is and how it can transform your game, and the confidence, the better defender, the more everything on the floor that it can become by buying into that from my own playing experience, but articulating that and actually getting that point across. Like, I think sometimes I might be a little sloppy with that delivery.
I also believe, Coach, in sort of the power of marginal gains, meaning like just being like 1% better, and how in the macro from 10,000 feet that adds up. So like, we're stronger now and we get a rebound that the other teams, we get a defensive rebound, the other team's trying to scrape it away, you know, that moment where possession is sort of in peril. It could go this way, it could go, and that used to be a tie ball because we weren't strong enough to kind of rip it and pull it and like, you reach in here and I'm going to win. And like, it used to be a tie ball, and maybe some of those we didn't have the possession arrows, so that didn't, Now so all those little micro, like 1% better, like we can now jump this much higher and get 2 more rebounds a month or something. Like the power of marginal gains and how they add up. And we get beat off the dribble because our strength in our lower body allows our lateral pushes and movement to be that much more. So we get beat off the dribble like 1 time less per game, then that adds up. So the marginal gains to me were worth it. And it became a confidence thing too, coach. Is like,
yeah,
you would see a girl, power dribble, boom, put her shoulder in someone, go up through contact, jump off 2 feet, actually leave the ground, which, like leap off the ground and like foul and one, and just like flex and like weight room, coach. And like, yeah, like that's invaluable. Like you can't put a price tag on that, like the belief going into the game, whether it's true or not, that we work harder than they do. They don't feel the pain we feel. They don't work hard as we do. That's an advantage before tip off, whether it's true or not, if it's believed.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.